Today we're going to talk about a place outside of this world. It's not Mars or Venus, but it may as well be. If you know where that's from, you're definitely in the right place right now. Today we're talking about 60 Minutes documentary that they made about Mount Athos. And it's from 2011. And the person, Bob Simon, he's a pretty famous reporter, and he visited Mount Athos with a camera crew and made a short documentary about it. So that's pretty epic. And today we're going to be going over it and see really if they did it justice or not, and if it's something we would recommend or not, and talk about some important themes. Have anything to add about that quick summary?
Yeah, basically, it was a pretty overall good documentary to show the life of Mount Athos in a quick glimpse because it was only around 30 minutes. And yeah.
Yeah, it was really short, and honestly, a lot of people that watched it, they probably had never heard of Mount Athos before, and so it's kind of like, do they give them, like, as far as first impressions go, this is something that's kind of delicate. You want to put in the correct light. So I personally thought that it was actually a pretty good documentary on them.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was interesting to say the least that the last time they had a film crew was in the 70s, I believe. And I mean, it goes to show because all the monks on the mountain, they're trying to get away from this world. So to have a camera crew come in and show like their daily life was kind of like maybe even intruding, into their lives. But I think they had a good balance between interviewing some of the monks and like kind of detailing their life and their everyday routine, and then also showing like the liturgical aspect and the everyday prayer life that they continue to have.
Yeah, that was definitely something that they stressed throughout the video. Like, obviously, from the introduction that they give it and that I just gave, they're really trying to show that this is not some place that's like where we live. It's not some place that's like the rest of the world. And like you said, another one of the first things that they talk about is how there hadn't been a camera crew in there to give them a documentary like that in a very long time. So they really had a special privilege.
Like the two sides of like everything that they do, but like the history of it, and like showing how like not only showing that there's only like one monastery that they really showed, which was Simonos Petra, but they were detailing that like some monasteries look like castles and fortresses, and there's around 20 monasteries there. And it was interesting to note that they only really talked about Simonos Petra, which I think they only got permission probably from that one main monastery. And I probably would have liked to see and hear about the other different monasteries, because not only are there Greek monasteries but Russian and Romanian. Um, so I think that's something that they lacked, but they probably didn't get the correct permission from the abbots to film at the other 19 monasteries on the mountain.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they talked about the history as well. Like, not only did they talk about the lifestyle and what's going on there, like, right now, but they also talked about the history. They talked about, like, when Simonopetras and when the island was, like, made as a monastery. And they also talked about some other events in between then and now. And I thought that was pretty good because it's not just something that's new, it's something that's been there for 1,000 years. And then I also like that they balance the history with also the lifestyle of the monks. And you can almost think of that about the history as well, because, this is a phrase they used a lot, and that anyone that's talking about Mount Athos probably uses a lot, that it hasn't changed. They kind of lived the same lifestyle as they did back then, and they really did go over the lifestyle pretty well, whether it was like liturgics, like you said, or like what type of work they got going on, or they talked about like pilgrims and stuff. So that was like a good balance, like the current and the past.
I think you said it came out in 2011, right?
Right.
The documentary. Yeah, I think I don't know, because from prior to 2011, there was really no documentaries that you could watch, on Mount Athos. And I feel like that documentary set the bar for people that don't know anything about Mount Athos to take a look into and to get some insight into what the Holy Mountain is all about. And I think a few other documentaries that have come out since then had a high bar to set themselves on, because I mean 60 Minutes they did a great job, cinematography and showing the story. And one note that I would like to mention is when they were kind of showing the life of Father Yakovos, who was from America, who's a monk on Simonos Petra, and they kind of detailed, like the first time he saw the Holy Mountain when he was 6 years old, and now that he's a monk there and he's been there more than half of his life, and he was detailing kind of the fact that there's all different types of monks that are from there, not only Greek monks, but from America and Australia. And I think there was another monk, and he was kind of saying that, you know, even though the Holy Mountain looks beautiful, it's upkeep, the monasteries have so much rich history, the architecture, the iconography is amazing. But for the monk to go there, it's kind of like there's unseen warfare. And one of the monks was talking about that. And I think it's very interesting to note that most Orthodox Christians don't understand that, when a monastic goes into the monastery, they're always being battled by the demonic spirits. So I think it would be more interesting that if 60 Minutes would have kind of touched on that more. But it was really nice to have an interview with one of the monks and representing that different side of monasticism that most people, are not educated on.
You're right, and because that's something that you can't really show in a video like that. Like, obviously, you can show
Hmm.
the beautiful views that they have, or the beautiful iconography, or maybe some of the singing and chanting that they do, but you can't you can't, like, show a spiritual part of it in a documentary, especially from something like as secular as 60 Minutes. Like, that's not something you would really expect them to dwell on that much, but even just bringing it up, I think you're right. And, a lot of people, maybe even after watching this video, they don't really actually realize what goes on at a monastery. They think that they just have, like, they just spend all their time at church, but they don't even understand really what's going on at the church. So I think that's something good to bring up. The monks, they're very busy in the spiritual sense and in the physical sense.
Hmm. Right. I mean, all the spiritual life is, the whole day for the monk, right? But, they're not always praying like in church. They they do say, they're reciting the Jesus prayer pretty much every second of the day, or they try to, but that's why they also have work to be sustainable. you know Obviously some monks are iconographers and working in the fields, and working in the kitchen. And I think it was nice to see that they were touching on that note, like that one monk from Germany who was kind of like the engineer, let's say, of Simenopetra. And it was cool to see how, all these different monks had different, you know, work and obligations throughout the day, but then they all came together and they really showed how they come as a community to church, in the morning and night for whatever service they're celebrating. And I think the cinematography in that was very beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and they definitely did talk about, they definitely, like, were trying to stress. I think that the people putting together the video kind of realized what you're saying about the unceasing prayer, and I think that is a theme that they definitely tried to make other people aware of who watched it. I mean, numerous times they were just showing different monks, and you could see it on their lips how they were praying, even when they were doing a totally different task, whether it was like in the garden or in the engineer workshop or doing the iconography, like you said too. And the one monk who we did an interview with, he was talking to him. He was talking to Bob Simon, and then he just started chuckling, and he was like, "You think that I can just stop praying, but I can't." And then Bob Simon was like, for a lot of these monks here, praying is just like breathing. And at, at the Orthodox monasteries, they take what St. Paul said seriously, which is to pray unceasingly. Like, that's something that they definitely latch onto, and they are praying unceasingly.
I mean, I think people that are uneducated on monasticism don't realize that, I mean, their sole purpose when they go to the monastery, become a monastic, is to forget of their past life and their past self and solely focus on God to get closer to God. And the only way to do that, right, is to pray. And I mean, that's their main focus. And I think they did a really good job in the video and the documentary to represent that. And it's kind of funny because there's been a few people throughout the past 2 years in college that have asked me about Orthodox Christianity because they know I'm a Orthodox Christian, and they always ask me like, oh, what's like a good thing to read or watch or anything like that, and I'm like, watch the 60 minutes documentary because it's a short documentary. It's nothing crazy, and people may say like, why should I watch a documentary about a monastery, the monastics, rather than watching a video from a parish priest? And I say usually that, monasticism, that's the sole, basically the center of Orthodox Christianity. Mount Athos is the center of Orthodox Christianity, considering that they have 1,000 divine liturgies a day. I mean, what's a closer place to earth, than Mount Athos? And people don't realize that, monasticism and the monks and the nuns praying every day for us and for the world, they're the center of Christianity. And I think that's important for all Christians to know and to be educated on.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's kind of amazing to think about that, like you said, they do all these divine liturgies on Mount Athos every day. And it's like incredible, and it is helpful to show your friends because we do the same exact divine liturgy in our church. And they actually said this at one point in the video, if I remember correctly, that the same prayers, the same icons, the same halls that they're walking through are the same ones as all of the saints of the church have gone through before them. And all of the monks of the church, obviously not just the saints, like since that since the time of the founding of Mount Athos and since the beginning of Christianity.
hmm Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to think that there have been a lot of canonized saints that have come from Mount Athos. And, it's really, really interesting because I feel like there's not that many places that there have been so many like spiritual elders and saints that have come from like one peninsula, like one place. And I think that represents how special Mount Athos is. And I think that 60 Minutes really shined a light on that aspect. Another note that I kind of wanted to say is I thought it was interesting because I feel like at the beginning of the 21st century, there wasn't really many cameras or like phones that were out and about on Mount Athos when pilgrims came to watch divine liturgies. And then in 2011, 60 Minutes brought out this documentary. And then a couple years go by, and there's a few more documentaries about the Holy Mountain. But I think it's crazy that nowadays pilgrims are going and they're like filming some monks, and there's all these videos of the Divine Liturgy being celebrated by just pilgrims having their iPhone out. And I think it's kind of sad to say that even though the Holy Mountain has been a place of like, being excluded from the world. Now that the world is so small with technology, it's kind of being placed everywhere, which I think is a good thing and a bad thing, because then it's, basically the gospel is being spreaded to more places and more people can see the inside of the Holy Mountain. But then I think it's also a bad thing because now monks are like having computers and stuff like that. And I always see like the abbot of Vadopathy on like Zoom calls with all these metropolitans in
Hmm.
Greece and leaders talking about important issues, which is really nice. But it kind of is redundant to the idea that all the monks are really trying to be exclusive from the world and only showing their main interest in God. So
Yeah, I mean, I bet that the girls are pretty happy that there's so much more videos from there. And yeah, I gotta ask you this: when you show that to your friends, what do they think that about that they don't allow any woman there?
mm, yeah, I remember I showed two of my friends a few months ago, one a guy and one a girl, this documentary, and they were like pretty amazed, just by the history, because they know nothing about Orthodox Christianity. They're Christians, but they don't know anything about, you know, Mount Athos, the Holy Mountain, and they were just so surprised at like the dedication that the monks have towards prayer, like their everyday life. And I remember the girl, made a comment like, "So no girls can go there," and I'm like, "Yeah, because the Holy Mountain was given to the Virgin Mary. You know, it's the garden of the Virgin Mary, and I think women have to understand that she protects the Holy Mountain. How many times have there been monks that have seen the Virgin Mary during a liturgy or a Vesper service? And it's also funny because I showed one of my Greek friends who is also a girl. She watched the documentary, and she also didn't know that girls cannot go there. She didn't know that, and she was kind of she was sad. She was like, "So I can never go there," and I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, but I think that shows like that the tradition is still alive, and it's been like that for 1,000 years, and it's gonna continue to be that way. I don't think they're ever gonna change it, and considering that it's an autonomous part of Greece, in northern Greece, I think the exclusivity of it is going to remain the same because people understand how important the Holy Mountain is in Orthodox Christianity. And yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine that's something that would surprise a lot of non-Orthodox people. But of course, there's many women's monasteries all over the world, even in the United States. Of course, many in Greece, and same for the men's monasteries. So it's not like they'll never be able to go to a monastery.
Right. I mean, if a woman is, interested in seeing monasticism all over the world, there's Orthodox monasteries with nuns, and I think they shouldn't feel excluded because God is everywhere and God is not only present on the Holy Mountain. Um, and yeah, I think that that's important to note that the Holy Spirit, the Virgin Mary, the saints, they're everywhere in this world. You just have to seek it out for yourself.
Yeah, something I found really interesting about this documentary was how all of the monks that they talked to, they were from all over the place. Someone that might have just heard about this a little bit or just not know much about orthodoxy might be thinking, "Oh, orthodoxy, that's just for Greek people, right?" They think it's just for Greek people. And you would think maybe that all the monks in Mount Athos are all from Greece. But no, that's not the case. And there's people from all over. One of the monks they talked to was from Australia. One of them that you mentioned, he was from Germany. There was some from the United States. And of course, there were some from Greece too. So I thought that showed really well that, Orthodoxy isn't something some people think it's just for Greek people, but that's not because it's really something, you know, Catholic in the sense that it's all over the world, not in the Roman sense, of course.
Right. Um, I kind of touched on this earlier on in the video, but they only, really showed Simonos Petra, right? Which I think that's just because of maybe the permission that they got, which is a Greek monastery. But if someone did a little bit more research after maybe watching the documentary, they would see, Romanian, Russian, Bulgarian monasteries. And honestly, there's a couple Russian monasteries that have a very prominent role in the Big 20 monasteries on the Holy Mountain. And it goes to show like all those Balkan countries and Slavic countries, those people still pilgrim to Mount Athos. Um, and now I'm seeing there's a big presence of people from America that are going to the Holy Mountain just to see, what Orthodoxy is like, even if they're not baptized in the Orthodox Church, because there are around, I think, 200 visitors, a day, and a few of them can be non-Orthodox, which I think is, cool to say the least, considering that you have to file paperwork and a visa to get on the Holy Mountain, and they're allowing, some non-Orthodox Christians to take part in the divine liturgies and seeking out the monasteries. So.
Yeah, and I mean, that's definitely anyone that goes there, that's definitely a life changing experience for them. And something, a lot of people, when they hear the word monk, they might think of those people that wear like those orange clothes and shave their heads or something. I don't think, like you said, your friends, they never really knew anything about Orthodox monasticism. But, when we think of a monk, this is literally what we think of. We think of Mount Athos, and we think of them saying the Jesus prayer and going to long services. So I think that this video really does put you in that Orthodox mindset of thinking about monasticism as something that is really so important to the church. And this video, I mean, I think it's really a blessing how good it is, considering it's not even really like the reporters aren't even Orthodox. I mean, I think it's really just a blessing how actually helpful and how much it really does put you in the perspective of an Orthodox.
Yeah, I mean, I think if someone, Orthodox or not, watched the documentary, they would probably want to go to Mount Athos tomorrow,
Yeah,
because I mean, it gets you like just excited to see like the history and the chanting and the services and like how, determined the monks are to get closer to God and how like vigilant they are. And I mean, yeah, it gets me excited when I watch it. And like, I've never been to the Holy Mountain, but every time I watch it, I'm like, I want to go now, because it's just, it's insane. The history, the stories that they have there and the wisdom that they have from all the fathers there, I mean, they are so spiritually inclined that, probably one 10-minute conversation could change someone's life, a pilgrim. So I think, it would be wise for anybody to watch the documentary if you want to learn about monasticism or not, because I mean it touches a lot about the importance of the key importance of what us Orthodox Christians believe.
yeah, it's totally inspiring, and you're totally right. Once you want to watch it, you just want to go there. You just want to learn more about that, and I mean, that's like just such an awesome feeling. And I can just imagine people that aren't even Orthodox being like, this is pretty interesting. Like, I want to look into this more. And part of the reason is that even not being in the presence of the different monks there, but even their presence over the video is just, you can tell that they have like Christ in their heart. You can tell how much like at peace they are and like how much happier they are than someone that might just be so unhappy living in the world here. And to see them like just talking with such a tone, and I don't really know how to explain it, but even over the video, you can feel it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when the monks are talking, it just shows like their humility and patience towards the filming crew. Um, and you know how like soft spoken they are, like just demonstrating like how thankful they are to be on the holy mountain. And it does resonate, you know, with the viewer watching the video.
All right, so you guys should definitely go check out the link. I'll put it in the description so you can watch this video. It's less than 30 minutes long, so it's just so much wealth in that video. I would rate it a 10 out of 10, I'd say, and I'm pretty sure Yanni would agree with me.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's probably one of the best documentaries displaying Orthodox monasticism, and I think anybody interested in Orthodox Christianity in general would benefit from watching this documentary. So yeah.
All right, thanks for watching our video.